Are you sure you're truly seeing clearly after your spiritual awakening? There are actually many instances where individuals thought they were awakened, when in fact they weren't seeing clearly. You must learn to recognize the warning signs for this, allowing you to know if you're actually able to see clearly after awakening. The first of these signs is spiritual bypassing. You see, in the serene landscape of spiritual awakening, where the horizon stretches beyond the limits of our former selves, there lies a subtle yet profound pitfall known as spiritual bypassing. This term, coined by psychologist John Welwood in the 1980s, serves as a beacon, guiding us to recognize when we might be using spirituality not as a path to genuine transformation, but as a shield against the rawness of life. Spiritual bypassing manifests when one, in the pursuit of peace or enlightenment, skirts around personal hardships and emotions rather than confronting them directly. It's akin to painting over a cracked wall without addressing the underlying damage. This avoidance might seem beneficial, offering a temporary solace, but it hinders true spiritual growth and emotional healing. The ancient teachings of Buddhism articulate this concept vividly through the parable of the two arrows. The first arrow represents the initial pain of life's challenges, inevitable and part of the human experience. The second arrow, however, is the one we shoot ourselves by avoiding or denying the first. It is this second arrow that spiritual bypassing seeks to avoid, not realizing that in doing so, it only embeds it deeper. Engaging with spiritual bypassing can be deceptively comforting. It offers a semblance of progress and enlightenment, a feeling of being above the fray of human suffering and conflict. Yet the wisdom of philosophers like Carl Jung reminds us of the importance of confronting our shadows. Jung posited that our personal growth is rooted in the integration of all parts of ourselves, especially those we might wish to ignore or hide away. By embracing our vulnerabilities and fears, we pave the way for a more profound and authentic spiritual journey. Consider, for instance, the ancient Stoics' approach to life's adversities. They didn't advocate for a denial of pain or suffering, but encouraged a robust engagement with reality, proposing that true resilience is built through facing, rather than fleeing from, life's trials. This Stoic principle echoes through the ages, reminding us that the avoidance of discomfort, a hallmark of spiritual bypassing, is contrary to the essence of deep spiritual work. In the modern context, spiritual bypassing is further complicated by the abundance of quick-fix spiritual solutions offered by popular culture. Books, workshops, and even social media influencers often promise rapid healing and enlightenment, glossing over the necessity of wrestling with life's inherent complexities. This phenomenon creates a landscape ripe for bypassing, where the allure of immediate peace and understanding can lead us away from the rigorous, often messy work of true spiritual awakening. Sign 2, denial of shadow self. The denial of the shadow self emerges as a significant obstacle. This denial is not merely a refusal to see parts of ourselves we dislike, but a deeper, often unconscious resistance to acknowledging the full breadth of our humanity, including our fears, angers, and insecurities. The concept of the shadow self was extensively explored by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, who argued that this unacknowledged side harbors thoughts, feelings, and impulses contrary to our ideal self-image. Much like ignoring a wound only worsens the infection, denying our shadow self can lead to an imbalance, affecting our emotional health and spiritual growth. Jung emphasized the power of integrating our shadow to achieve wholeness, suggesting that true enlightenment comes from the courageous act of confronting and embracing all aspects of our being. In many spiritual traditions, the integration of the shadow self is seen as crucial to achieving a genuine state of enlightenment or awakening. For instance, in the practice of Zen Buddhism, the path to enlightenment involves a deep examination of the self, including the aspects we might be inclined to turn away from. Zen parables often speak of enlightenment as a state achieved not by escaping the world or oneself, but by fully embracing the totality of existence, including our own darkness. The denial of the shadow self is particularly seductive because it allows us to maintain an image of ourselves as purely enlightened beings, untouched by the darker facets of human nature. This self-image can be comforting, offering a false sense of superiority over others who are perceived as not having reached the same level of spiritual purity. However, this perception is a mirage, distancing us from the truth that wholeness requires the acceptance of all parts of ourselves. The tales of mystics and saints from various religious traditions offer powerful examples of this integration. Figures like Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet and mystic, spoke of the importance of embracing every aspect of the self, suggesting that the path to divine love and enlightenment is found through acknowledging and loving even the darkest parts of our being. Rumi's poetry often reflects on the idea that our flaws and imperfections are not obstacles to spiritual growth, but essential components of our journey toward wholeness. The temptation to deny our shadow self is amplified by the proliferation of narratives that focus exclusively on positivity, light, and unconditional love, often at the expense of acknowledging the complexity and dualities of the human experience. While these qualities are undoubtedly central to spiritual growth, an overemphasis on them can lead to a suppression of the shadow self, hindering our ability to achieve true enlightenment. By embracing our whole selves, we not only foster a deeper connection with our essence, but also cultivate a more authentic and compassionate relationship with the world around us. Sign 3. Losing touch with humility. Amidst the profound transformation of awakening, there's a subtle but significant risk of losing touch with one of the most grounding virtues: humility. Humility, in its essence, is the recognition of our finite nature, our limitations, and our interconnectedness with life. The loss of humility can be a subtle shift, often unnoticed until it has significantly impacted our perspective and interactions with the world. It might begin as a quiet confidence in our understanding and slowly morph into a belief that we have transcended the common struggles or questions that beset others. This mindset not only isolates us from the shared human experience, but also blinds us to the continuous learning and growth that humility nurtures. Historically, many spiritual traditions have warned against the peril of losing humility. For instance, Sufism, the mystical branch of Islam, extols the virtue of humility as essential to the path of love and knowledge of the divine. Rumi, one of its most celebrated poets, often spoke of the ego as a barrier to divine love, emphasizing that a humble heart is a vessel for wisdom and grace. Similarly, in the teachings of Jesus, humility is praised as a cornerstone of spiritual life, a quality that opens the heart to grace and truth. Monks, in their daily lives and practices, serve as profound examples of how humility can be woven into the very fabric of existence. They often live in communities where personal achievements or recognition are not the focus. Instead, they emphasize communal living, shared responsibilities, and the pursuit of wisdom and inner peace. This way of life encourages a deep understanding of humility, recognizing that each individual's journey is both unique and part of a greater whole. Their practices, ranging from meditation to the simple acts of cooking and cleaning, are done with a mindful presence that honors the moment and the act itself, rather than striving for accolades or acknowledgement. This mindfulness allows them to see the beauty in the mundane and understand the importance of every task, no matter how small, in the maintenance of the community and their spiritual path. Moreover, monks often engage in teachings and dialogues that explore the nature of existence, suffering, and the ego. Through these discussions, they delve into the concept that letting go of one's ego and embracing humility opens the door to true understanding and compassion. They learn to see themselves as part of a larger, interconnected world where every action and every being has its importance. The emphasis on personal enlightenment and transformation can sometimes overshadow the collective journey and interconnectedness that humility reminds us of. The proliferation of social media and the commodification of spirituality have further complicated this dynamic, often highlighting individual achievement over communal growth and shared vulnerability. The paradox of humility is that it does not diminish our light or achievements, but rather amplifies them by grounding them in the reality of our shared humanity. Humility allows us to see ourselves in others and others in ourselves, fostering a sense of compassion and empathy that is crucial for genuine spiritual growth. It teaches us that awakening is not a destination where one arrives alone, but a journey we embark on together, continuously learning from the world and the myriad forms of life with which we share it. Reconnecting with humility involves a conscious effort to recognize and honor the value in every person and experience. It means embracing the unknown and the unfinished within us, acknowledging that our journey is ever evolving. By doing so, we not only deepen our spiritual path, but also contribute to a more compassionate, understanding world. Sign 4. Lack of discernment. On the path of awakening, where every step is a lesson and every lesson a step, discernment emerges as a crucial guide. Discernment, the ability to judge well, to distinguish between what is true and false, beneficial and harmful, is like a compass in the vast landscape of spiritual exploration. It helps navigate the complex and often confusing terrain of teachings, practices, and experiences one encounters. The challenge arises when this essential tool is overshadowed by the desire for quick enlightenment or the allure of charismatic leaders and captivating teachings. In such cases, the lack of discernment can lead one down paths that veer away from genuine spiritual growth and into realms of misconception and disillusionment. The modern spiritual seeker is bombarded with an array of choices. Countless books, seminars, online courses, and spiritual gurus offering paths to enlightenment and happiness. In this bustling marketplace of ideas, the lack of discernment can lead to confusion, disillusionment, and even exploitation. It's easy to be swept away by eloquent words or the promise of an easy path to spiritual fulfillment without critically examining the substance and integrity of these offerings. The teachings of the Buddha emphasize the importance of discernment, particularly in the Kalama Sutta, where the Buddha advises against following teachings simply because they are traditional, popular, or proclaimed by a revered figure. Instead, he encourages a personal investigation and understanding of the truth. This principle underscores the role of discernment in spiritual awakening, highlighting the importance of an inquiring mind and a heart that seeks authenticity. In the Christian tradition, discernment is similarly valued as a means to perceive God's direction in one's life. The Apostle Paul, in his letters, speaks of discerning what is best, encouraging followers to cultivate an understanding that leads to pure and blameless lives. This emphasis on discernment is a reminder of the need for a grounded and thoughtful approach to spiritual growth, one that carefully considers the implications and origins of the teachings one embraces. Cultivating discernment involves a delicate balance of openness and skepticism, a willingness to explore deeply while holding space for questioning and critical thinking. It means listening to the inner voice of intuition without losing sight of reason and personal experience. Sign 5. Compulsive seeking. It's not uncommon to encounter a phase of compulsive seeking. This is a stage where the thirst for spiritual knowledge and experience becomes insatiable, leading to an endless quest for more teachings, more practices, more signs of progress. While the desire to grow and understand is a natural part of the spiritual journey, when it turns into an unending pursuit, it risks becoming a distraction from the deeper inner work that truly transforms. Compulsive seeking is often driven by the belief that enlightenment or spiritual fulfillment is a destination just out of reach, requiring constant effort to attain. This mindset can lead to a cycle of spiritual consumption, where one moves from one book, guru or method to another, never staying long enough to dive deep into any practice or teaching. The parable of the prodigal son, found in many traditions but most notably in Christianity, offers a poignant reflection on this. The son who leaves home seeking happiness in distant lands eventually realizes that what he sought was with him all along. This story reminds us that true fulfillment often lies not in ceaseless seeking, but in returning to and exploring the depths of our being. Compulsive seeking may also mask deeper issues of dissatisfaction or avoidance. It can be a way of escaping from facing the more challenging aspects of the spiritual path, such as self-examination, shadow work, and the confronting of personal traumas. By constantly looking outward for answers, the seeker may neglect the inner journey, which is where true transformation occurs. The antidote to compulsive seeking lies in mindfulness and presence. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen Buddhist monk, teaches the power of being fully present in the moment, finding depth and meaning in the here and now rather than in an imagined future. By practicing mindfulness, one learns to appreciate the journey itself, recognizing that each step, each breath, is an opportunity for awakening. Creating a balanced spiritual practice that includes periods of study, meditation, reflection, and rest can also help mitigate the urge to compulsively seek. It allows for a holistic approach to growth, one that honors the cyclical nature of learning and being. In the end, the journey of awakening is not about accumulating spiritual experiences or knowledge, but about deepening our understanding of ourselves and our place in the cosmos. By recognizing the signs of compulsive seeking and addressing them with mindfulness, presence, and community, we can ensure that our spiritual journey remains enriching, balanced, and true to the quest for inner transformation. Sign 6. False sense of serenity. In the midst of the spiritual journey, seekers often encounter moments of profound peace and tranquility. These experiences, whether through meditation, prayer, or moments of deep connection with nature, offer a glimpse of the serenity that lies at the heart of awakening. However, there is a danger in mistaking these fleeting moments of peace for a permanent state of enlightenment, leading to a false sense of serenity. The trap of a false sense of serenity arises when one becomes attached to these moments of tranquility, clinging to them as proof of spiritual progress or as a refuge from life's challenges. This attachment can blind the seeker to the impermanent nature of experience, setting the stage for disillusionment when the inevitable ups and downs of life disrupt the illusion of constant serenity. Buddhist teachings on impermanence offer valuable insights into this phenomenon. Anicca, or impermanence, is a concept that teaches us about the ever-changing nature of life and everything in it. This understanding is vital for anyone on a spiritual journey. Recognizing anicca helps us see that nothing lasts forever, not our joys, sorrows, or even those moments of deep peace. It reminds us that clinging to these moments, hoping they will last, leads only to disappointment because they too will pass. By embracing anicca, we learn to appreciate the beauty of change and the lessons it brings. Instead of chasing after or holding on to moments of tranquility, we can learn to find peace in the flow of life itself. This acceptance doesn't mean we become passive or indifferent, but rather that we engage with life more fully, aware of its fleeting nature and finding serenity not in permanence but in the understanding that every moment is precious because it is temporary. This shift in perspective allows us to face life's challenges with a calm heart and open mind, knowing that these too shall pass. It teaches us resilience and helps us cultivate a deeper, more authentic sense of serenity that does not depend on external circumstances, but flows from an inner well of understanding and acceptance. You see, the danger of a false sense of serenity lies in its potential to foster spiritual bypassing, as discussed earlier. By clinging to moments of peace and tranquility, one may avoid confronting the deeper wounds and shadows that lie beneath the surface. This avoidance hinders true spiritual growth, leading to a superficial understanding of enlightenment that lacks depth and authenticity. Sign 7. Ego inflation, judgment and superiority. As the seeker delves deeper into the realms of spirituality, there's a subtle yet potent risk of ego inflation, a phenomenon where spiritual progress becomes intertwined with feelings of superiority and judgment towards others who are perceived as less enlightened. This insidious trap can lead to a distortion of the spiritual path, turning it from a journey of self-discovery and compassion into a battleground of egoic competition and division. Ego inflation often arises when the seeker begins to identify with their spiritual achievements or insights, viewing themselves as somehow more advanced or enlightened than others. This identification with the spiritual self can create a sense of separation, reinforcing the illusion of individuality and superiority over others who are perceived as less awakened. In the teachings of various spiritual traditions, the dangers of ego inflation are starkly highlighted. In Buddhism, the concept of anatta or non-self challenges the notion of a fixed, separate identity, reminding us that the ego is merely a construct of the mind. The Buddha cautioned against falling into the trap of spiritual pride, warning that attachment to one's spiritual achievements can hinder further progress on the path. Similarly, in the Christian tradition, humility is extolled as a virtue that brings one closer to God. Jesus' teachings on love and compassion emphasize the importance of treating others with kindness and respect, regardless of their spiritual or moral standing. The parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector serves as a poignant reminder of the dangers of spiritual arrogance, showing how pride can blind us to our own faults and shortcomings. Cultivating humility and compassion is essential for mitigating the dangers of ego inflation. This involves recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every individual, regardless of their spiritual or worldly accomplishments. It means acknowledging that the path of awakening is unique for each person and that true enlightenment transcends the limitations of the ego. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.